you served my father. Years ago you served my father. Years ago you served my father. My father. Years ago you served 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 my father. Years ago you served. Years ago you served my father. Years ago you served my father. He begs you to help him struggle. He begs you to help him. He begs you to help him struggle. He begs you to help him. He begs you. He begs you to help him. He begs you to help him struggle. He begs you to help him. 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 He begs you to hel Survive, you should vital to the survival, vital to the survival of the bizarre to you, vital to the survival, vital to the survival of the bizarre to you, vital to the survival, vital to the survival of the bizarre to you, vital to the survival, vital to the survival of the bizarre to you, vital to the survival, vital to the survival of the bizarre to you, vital to the survival, vital to the survival of the bizarre to you, vital to the survival, vital to the survival of the bizarre to you, vital to the survival, vital to the survival.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Peter Steves, and it is my privilege to be the director of the DePaul Humanities Center and I'm pleased to welcome you to the 8th annual Scholars Game Night and our first ever online as we present the Scholars Improv Episode 4, A New Dope. Although we're not gathered in the same physical space, this is in fact a DePaul University Humanities Center event. And so it's important that we remember the traditional territory and original people who inhabited that territory on which DePaul stands today. Long before Europeans arrived, varied and numerous native people sought to walk gently on this land. They offered assistance to the first European travelers to this territory, sharing their knowledge for survival and living a good life. Among others, the Potawatomi, Ojibwe, Miami, and Illinois inhabited what is now this part of Chicago. While we here today have no power to honor the treaties that were signed, we do recognize that these treaties were brokered under some duress and deception. So it is our hope tonight to honor the good faith with which the native people of the region entered into these treaties. As Potawatomi Chief Matea is purported to have said at the signing of the 1821 Treaty of Chicago, quote, "This is a small piece of land, and if we give it away, what will become of us? The Great Spirit who has provided it for our use allows us to keep it. We should incur his anger if we bartered it away. If we had more land, you should get more. But our land has been wasting away ever since the white people became our neighbors, and we have now hardly enough left to cover the bones of our tribe." In solidarity with Chief Matea, we recognize the history and legacy of this subjugation, as well as the enduring presence today of those with Native heritage among our faculty, staff, student body, and community. And it's thus that we seek a new relationship with the original peoples of this land, one based on true respect, as we also reaffirm our general and driving dedication to finding ways both institutionally and personally for the work that we do at the DePaul Humanities Center to be a model of what it means to be dedicated to making our society a more enlightened and just place for everyone in our community. Tonight, for the Scholars Improv, we are celebrating the art of improvisation, both for the comedian and for the academic. And so, in that spirit, it's time to go off script. Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad that you can join us. I wish that we could be together face to face, but I think we're going to have a really great time tonight. This is a live event. It is being taped to be up on our YouTube channel at some point. We expect that it'll last about 90 minutes, but it is live, so it may go a little under or a little over. And the idea behind the event tonight truly is to celebrate the idea of improvisation, to celebrate improv comedians as artists, the artists that they are, and to celebrate what professors do because they use improvisation all the time in the classroom, at conferences, when thinking and talking. And so we're going to see the ways in which these things connect tonight and celebrate them all. So I want to tell you a little bit about how the evening is going to unfold before we get started. There are going to be 4 DePaul professors and 5 improv comedians in an 11-act performance tonight. It's the case that no one knows what they're going to be talking about before they start performing. That goes for everybody. The professors are going to be talking about a PowerPoint that comes up on screen. I have created those PowerPoints. I did so by reading all of the things that I could find that these professors have published, looking at the syllabi from their classes to see what they teach, trying to come up with a PowerPoint that makes sense. It's something in their area, but they actually have no idea what the topic is going to be. They will be seeing this at the same time that you in the audience see it. The comedians will be working with you in the audience. We'll be needing to get some suggestions for you later in the evening for the different sketches, so stay by your chat. And they'll be making everything they say up on the spot. So they're used to this, but the professors aren't. So they're very brave by agreeing to be a part of this tonight. And what I want to do then is to take a few moments to talk about exactly how it's going to unfold for the professors. So I'm going to explain what you're going to see tonight. And at the same time you in the audience are hearing me, the professors are going to be hearing this for the first time as well. So this is what it's going to look like. When it's time for a professor to come on and give the lecture, you're going to see these red curtains. The name of the professor will be there at the top and the Scholars Improv 4 will be at the bottom. When you see this and see your name there, professor, it means it's time for you to turn on your camera and your microphone because you are going to be up. So that's your cue, okay? The first thing that you'll see after you do that is another slide. It will have your name and it will have underneath it the title of the lecture. So I've given each of your lectures a title. You'll know then what the topic is going to be before the lecture actually starts. The lecture itself will be composed of you talking about 8 PowerPoint slides that you've never seen before, but they'll unfold in the following way. So after we announce the title of your lecture, I'll turn off the camera and mic for me. It'll be just you alone, but I'll be controlling the PowerPoint. And here's what will happen first. The sound of the kitty meowing twice means that a slide has changed. You'll always be able to see in the upper right-hand corner of the screen what slide we're on, 1 out of 8 right now. Each slide will contain an image or some text, and it will be up for 60 seconds. It's not set to a timer. I control that, so I can change it and end the slide a little bit early or a little bit late, but I'm going to try to keep to 60 seconds for everybody. When the 60 seconds are up, you'll see the slide change, and a different image or text will come up, possibly even a video or film clip. If it is a video or film clip that plays, just let it play, and your 1 minute won't start right away. It'll start after the video, unless there's a note telling you go ahead and start immediately, because the video is going to play continuously. If there's a quote that comes up on one of the slides, you can choose to read it out loud. You don't have to. It's there to guide you, to inspire you. It's completely up to you. Lecture to the PowerPoint as if you were the one who created it. Do what you want with it. It'll be the same for slides 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And finally, you'll see slide 8 out of 8 come up, and every 8th slide has the words "in conclusion" at the top, and there will be a final image or text. That's the final slide, a chance for you to wrap up everything that you're thinking and saying, and then your lecture will be over. So let me give you some tips as we move along. I know that you probably have some nervous tension right now, thinking it's going to last forever. Trust me that a minute goes by very quickly. So my suggestion would be to go in, make a point about the slide, and then move on. Don't try to stretch it out. Remember that you're not giving a 90-minute lecture like you do in class. When you hear the cat meow and the slide change, you can finish making your point, but don't take too long finishing up the point from the slide before. Otherwise, you'll get stuck in the past. Move on to the next thing that comes up. It's all going to be related somehow. So try to tie it into what just came before. And in the event that something comes up that you really just don't know about it, I don't think that's likely to happen, but if it does, don't panic. Just talk about something. Do what you would normally do if you had to talk your way out of something at a conference or in a class. So those are the suggestions that I have for you. I hope you all have a fun time. And we are going to begin with our improv comedian starting things off for us tonight. And every time you hear the sound of a lightsaber powering up and the melodious plink plink robot sounds of Bob Valgenti, you'll know it's time for the Say What players to take the stage. Take it away, my friends.
All right, here we go. Thank you very much, Professor Peter. Hello, everybody. I am Pete. These are the Say What players who are going to be popping up soon. We have Lisa, we have Tim, we have Elena, and we have Terrence. So thank you so much. So if you have seen an improv show before in the long, long ago when things were live and everything was fun, you'll know that improv shows are lively and they're entertaining, and we can the actors can hear you and hear the suggestions that you yell out and hear the roaring laughter that we know we would get normally. But Zoom improv, it's very different, and it's very awesome as well, because the whole thing of an actor getting to see the people he's performing in front of is not the case anymore in Zoom, and it's so much fun. So we are so excited that we get to do this medium and over the internet, and we are mostly excited to get suggestions from y'all. Now, while we can't hear you get suggestions, just type those suggestions in when we do come to you at the top of the scenes, and we will go to the chat and see which one is most inspiring for us, or whoever is hosting will decide that suggestion there. But for the rest part, we will not be able to see them. Nor can we see the things that you just suggested and wrote down before when you were entering into the show here. So Zoom Improv, it's very different. It's unique. It's a once in a lifetime experience to have a whole industry shift to the online world, because nothing says live theater like watching it on a laptop. So without further ado, I'm going to let Elena take the stage and run us through our first scene we'll do here.
Great, thanks, Pete. This first scene that we're going to be doing is a competition. It is a challenge. If I were going to be giving a TED Talk, it would be on something I know everything about, like how transcendentalism impacted the work of Louisa May Alcott, or competitive jump rope in the 90s. So we're going to choose a topic that you think that these four actors know nothing about. Probably one of those things I mentioned, or something else, let's do something else. And they will have to speak on that subject. Now, at any point, someone else can challenge what that person is saying. And I will be the one who judges if that challenge is accurate or not. And if it is accurate, they will get to take over the talk. We're going to have like a cohesive speech done together. And they're going to try to really take each other out. And the last one speaking at the end of the 2 minutes that I will be timing will win. Oh, the joy. So I need that suggestion of something you think these four dum-dums know nothing about, such as the origin of pasta shapes. Perfect. Thank you. So we're going to go ahead and have Tim start. I'm going to be timing for 2 minutes. Tim, tell us all about that pasta.
Spaghetti, rigatoni, fettuccine. These are all noodles. And do you know where noodles came from? Italy. Maybe Rome. I'm not entirely sure, but I know it was somewhere in Italy.
Challenge.
Yeah,
we're supposed to be talking about shapes and noodles, not just noodles here. So
that's true. We're gonna need a lot more shaping. Shape it up, Pete.
Okay, well, like Tim just said, noodles did come from Italy. However, the shapes themselves came from math. That's right. Math decided the shape and the size of the noodles. You see, back in the 1500s, wheat cost a lot of money, and therefore you had to apply math to it. And then when you put math through a tube, you get, okay.
Oh, we got two challenges on the board. Terrence and then Lisa. Terrence?
I was just going to say, shapes don't come from anything other than Ed Sheeran. He knows the shape of you.
Oh, you're speaking to my soul. Lisa,
Right?
what did you want to say?
Math is boring.
Okay, I'm going to need more Ed Sheeran. Terrence, take it away.
A whole bunch of different shapes. Geometry can tell you shapes, all these type of shapes. No. The only shape is the shape of you. And Ed Sheeran knew that, okay? He wanted you to understand that every angle, every curve, every part of you is the shape and being that makes you you. Now, I want to talk about
challenge.
Okay, but don't offend me, Lisa.
Pasta shapes are less about you and more about sauce.
Okay, fair. Pete?
Well, I was going to say, what about triangles?
Yeah, let's get to the sauce. Lisa?
Okay, so you have a bow tie pasta. Bow tie pasta is gonna catch some of the like more white sauces, like your like lemon, milky, buttery sauce.
Challenge.
Yeah, Pete?
That sauce sounds disgusting. Lemon and milk? No, thank you.
Well, okay. What sauce do you want, Pete?
I want melted Rocky Road over my pasta. That's the only way you can do it. That is the original recipe from the original way that it was intended to be made. Christopher Columbus actually had a whole, okay.
30 seconds. Tim, yeah?
No one has talked about vodka sauce yet.
You're right. Let's get lit. Tim?
Do you ever want a sauce that you think is going to get you maybe a little tipsy, but then it doesn't? Of course you do. And you walk down the grocery store aisle looking at sauce.
Challenge.
Lisa?
Tim's talking a lot of bolognese.
I can give you nothing for that. Tim, keep going.
So you put it over the top of your pasta and you're like, oh, maybe this will taste a little bit like a vodka tonic, the best drink at every bar.
15 seconds?
Thing you want to
Challenge.
Pete?
Milk is not the best drink at every bar. Or, gin and tonic is not the.
Lisa?
I did cooking with the Nonas class, and it was all from these this little grandmother from Italy, and so I know the most about pasta shapes.
Okay, Terrence, did you have something to say on that?
Oh, I just wanted to talk about Ed Sheeran some more.
Oh, grandmas or Ed Sheeran? How do I choose? Let's hear more about the Nonas.
Okay, so it was this very cute Nona, and she gave me a compliment. She said, "Oh, tu pasta es bueno."
Challenge.
1 second left. Pete, what's your challenge?
Lisa's just using this platform to show that she knows how to make pasta.
And I'm fine with that. 1 second, Lisa wins.
Yeah.
Ah.
Chicken with the Nona.
The Say What Players, everybody. Not only is it super difficult to do improv on Zoom, but it's really great, I imagine, for them not to hear any laughter or applause from anyone. So yay, thanks everybody. Little known fact, by the way, Robert Valgenti's favorite dish at Olive Garden is the Rocky Road Fusilli. Little known fact. All right, so we're off to a great start, and it's time to share screen because up next is Steve Harp. He is our first professor to be lecturing tonight. Steve Harp from the newly established art school at DePaul. Steve, you up there? Yes, I see you. Excellent. And it looks like Steve has created a PowerPoint for us entitled 8 Things a Photograph Might Be. That sounds really interesting, Steve. I can't wait to hear what you have to say. All right, my friend, take it away.
When I saw where's that cat? There's a cat around here. When I heard my name come up first, I was reminded of the last scene in Cold Blood when the 2 convicted murderers are deciding who is going to be executed first, and I guess I'm the lucky one. A photograph might be a true, accurate, realist record of the world. Well, I guess in a kind of sort of very narrow way. We're talking about the index here, using the camera for what's it called? Photo finishes. But the finish isn't really as interesting as I think what happens before and after the finish. We might, okay. Like a monkey's paw. Yes, indeed. This is a nice, if yet another gruesome analogy I use. The monkey's paw, if any of you remember the story by W.W. Jacobs, in which a person buys gets a supposedly magical amulet of a monkey's paw at a street fair, and he is told he's granted 3 wishes. So he says, first, okay, I'd like to have a lot of money. So the next thing he knows, his son has been killed in a work accident and he gets the insurance payment. So his second wish is, gee, I wish my son was alive again. And the next thing he knows, or the next thing that happens is he is greeted with a knock on his door, and it is his son's rotting corpse, come out of the grave. That's kind of what a photograph is. A photograph is a kind of rotting corpse. It's never really what you're looking at. It's always some kind of frozen fragment of something else. And for those of us who think that a photograph is indeed a memory, it's not a memory. It is, in fact, it holds memory at bay. Photograph might be uncanny. the familiar but the unfamiliar. I'm not speaking because this is an interesting photograph. I'm not, there's something really compelling about the shape of the farm market and the shape of the house being similar. And I'm usually not that interested in looking at photographs formally in terms of shapes, but there is just something compelling about this, something that, to use Levi-Strauss's term, there's something that's good to think with in this photograph. I'm not sure what it is. From the sublime to the ridiculous. This photograph is indeed a snapshot. It kind of has all the qualities that one would expect of a snapshot. Kind of obvious use, a kind of very definitive use of the foreground. It's a photograph that seems kind of like it's just kind of speaking in really obvious ways. I guess the question is, what does this photograph say if you are not Princess Charlene of Monaco or anyone that knows Princess Charlene of Monaco? Photograph is metaphor. Vivian Maier, interesting to think about Vivian Maier in terms of metaphor. Vivian Maier's photographs, to the extent that I'm familiar with them, are, kind of about the concrete. The meta, they're about the instant. I'd have to think about this more. I'd have to think about the metaphorical aspects. Photograph might be, in Photography and Electoral Appeal, which is one short essay in Roland Barthes' really wonderful book, Mythologies, he kind of really leverages, and all of these little essays kind of have to do with the idea of denotation and connotation, and how a photograph is never simply an image of what is in the photograph, but it is read in terms of all the, all the background that the viewer brings to it. And when I teach this, I often show a photograph of, how can I put it delicately, the last guy. And I say you can look at the same photograph and the denotation is the same for everybody, but the connotation will vary wildly, right? Photograph, studium and punctum. The studium in this photograph, here's a little kid who seems to be smoking a cigarette. That's kind of interesting. She's affecting a pose of a 1940s kind of film noir, femme fatale. That's kind of the obvious studium. It's the, as Bart would put it, the kind of polite, the polite interest. Punctum, this seems very contrived. It's, there's nothing that really pricks me in this, which is what the punctum is dependent on. Something that is a sort of idiosyncratic connection that is unpredictable and absolutely unintentional. Well, God, I wish something would break the internet. I'm like really sick of it. This is, looking at a photograph like this, it would certainly cause me to get off the internet. What are selfies all about? I mean, I feel like selfies are all about people who feel that they don't exist and have to prove that to themselves that they really have a life, that they really, and I don't mean a life as in like a fun life, but that in a sense that they exist at all, right? Is that what a photograph proves? I don't know.
That's proof for me. How about that for Steve Harp? Thank you so much, Steve. That was excellent and great to have you start us off. Thank you so much. And now I think it's time for Go Say What Players.
Yeah, thank you so very much. Talking about those lovely, lovely photographs. Well, here's the thing, y'all. I'm pretty sure at this point we have all been on so many Zoom calls. I mean, like, for like class, for anything, in Zoom app and oh, was I breaking out there? Well, that's kind of what's gonna happen in this next scene. So in this next scene, I'm gonna have both Pete and Elena in a scene. And at any time, something might go wrong with their camera and we don't hear what they say. So I'll say, can you say that again? Or say that again? And then they'll have to take back the last thing they said and replace it with something brand new on the spot, kind of like this right now. So if I were to ask Pete to say,
I have a dog.
Say that again.
I have a cat.
Say that again.
I have a crippling fear that I will be left alone in the dark and it's raining outside.
That's exactly how the scene will work. I'll say that again, new choice, something along those lines. And then they'll have to take back the last word they just said. So can I have everyone flood the chat with a suggestion of a time period, like the Renaissance or medieval or
see what we got here.
Victorian? I love it. We'll take Victorian. I'll take you to a scene set in the Victorian era.
I've finished my cross stitch.
Oh, good. Put it on the pile with the rest of the cross stitches.
I shall. We shall burn it after dinner.
Excellent.
Elena, say that again.
We shall eat it for dinner in a cross stitch soup.
Yes, cross-stitch soup. I do enjoy how there's always musical quotes on your cross stitches. It's always fun to eat a song.
Isn't it? Take it in, sing it out.
Okay. I just finished carving a piece of wood out of a bigger piece of wood, my dear.
Pete, say that again.
I just finished making a flute out of spoons, my dear.
Pete, say that again.
I want to watch television so bad right now. I don't, it's this idea that I have and I'm going to call it television. And it's just a screen that you look at for hours on end.
Oh my,
It's sounds crazy.
Scandalous.
It's a crazy idea and I can't get my head off of it.
Oh, it sounds delightful.
It is scandalous. It's very scandalous.
Oh, would it give me access to the inner monologue of characters? That's why I love my novels.
Elena, what did you say?
I said, I'm gonna slap you.
Elena, what did you say?
My hair's on fire.
Oh my goodness, I didn't notice because I have so many curable diseases that will be cured in the future, but not now. I didn't even notice. Your hair is on. Oh my goodness, it is, and I didn't say anything because I have so much rage against you.
I can't believe how indifferent you are to my presence that you wouldn't notice my hair actually being on fire.
I just wanted to see how long it would go before I actually did say something. Turns out I would go indefinitely.
Well, I guess we're stuck in this marriage forever.
And see.
Stuck in a marriage.
It would be fun to be stuck in that marriage. Gotta love that. Awesome. Thank you so much. Up next, it looks like it's Jamie Waters from Catholic Studies. Jamie, please turn on your camera and your microphone. Pop up. There she is. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. And what have you prepared for us? By which I mean I have prepared for you. Oh, it's a lecture entitled 8 Things You Should Know About the 10 Commandments. That seems really serious for an evening like this. All right, let's see how it goes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Here we go.
All right, looks like but seriously, why are there 10 commandments? All right, this is a great question. So the 10 commandments, very important, very serious work. If you're curious about them, you'll find them in a few books of the Bible, Exodus and Deuteronomy. And technically, if you read them straight through, you won't count 10. You might count 9. You could count 11. But somewhere it says that they're 10 words, so people try to finagle them to be 10. The 10 Commandments are part of the foundation of the law that's given to the people of Israel on their way out of Egypt and on their way to their promised land. Moses is a big deal. This movie clip is depicting Moses coming down from the mountain holding these topsy-turvy commandments written in Hebrew. And well, this Hollywood's take has him break them, but they're foundational law. Is it about mindless obedience? The presence of divine persuasion indicates that the commandments cannot be reduced to blind obedience. The keeping of the commandments is not an activity that stands by itself. It is part of a relational dynamic, a reciprocity of faithfulness on the part of the partners in the covenant. So the commands are given to the people of Israel to help them to build on their relationship with one another and with their God. They're built as a gift, so to speak, that this gives them an opportunity to have a good relationship with themselves and with their God, not in the sense of this blind obedience, but as something that they willingly do in order to help themselves and one another. Ahava and agape in terms of the Decalogue. Okay, so Decalogue here, this is the Greek term for 10 commandments. So in case you're at a dinner party and someone says they care about the 10 commandments, you can say, oh, you mean the Decalogue? So that's the Greek word. It literally means 10 words. And love is a foundational part of why the commandments are given. Ahava is the Hebrew word for love. Agape is one of the Greek words for love. And they're built on this idea of loving God and loving one another. In the New Testament, ahava is where you'd hear that in the Old Testament. Agape, you'd see that in the New Testament of the Bible. But love, that's the real foundation of these commands. Protestant Reformation and the commandments. Okay, so this is Martin Luther. So Martin Luther, he's really important. And he cared a lot about the Bible. And so since the 10 commandments are foundational to the laws of the Bible, Martin Luther really encouraged people to read their Bible. One of his critiques of the Catholic Church was that there had been too much distance put between how the faith was practiced and the Bible. And so he promoted what's known as sola scriptura, this kind of scripture alone, And so the commandments become one way for people to interact with the Bible. And so they're a big deal for him. Um, Okay. Commandment, closer look, one of three. How to interpret, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Okay. So if you've ever learned about the Sabbath commandment, and if you hear the word Sabbath, and if you've heard it in a Christian context, you might think the Sabbath is Sunday. So of course, this is why you should go to church on Sunday. Um, Not originally. So the Sabbath at the time that the Ten Commandments would have been written would have been Saturday. So this is the Jewish Sabbath, the seventh day of the week. And there are various ways to interpret it. To keep the Sabbath holy might is really grounded on resting on the Sabbath. So originally this probably had less to do with going to a place of worship and instead resting, ceasing work and praying and focus on strengthening one's relationship with God. Eventually, as Christianity develops, especially in light of the belief in Jesus's resurrection, which was on a Sunday, the first day of the week, for many Christians, the Sabbath gets moved from Saturday to Sunday. It even gets renamed not only as Sabbath day, but as the Lord's Day. And so, depending on one's faith, you might have a different concept of Sabbath. Commandment, closer look, two of three. Honor thy father and thy mother. Okay, so of the commandments, this one I think could have the most appeal. Hopefully, in general, if you have a good relationship with your parents, but I think this has the most versatility. The principle behind it is to recognize the importance of one's parents. And I think you could argue that by extension, you should recognize the importance of people in your community. The Ten Commandments were originally addressing adults. And so when it says honor thy father and mother, it actually has in mind older people within a society. So sometimes this command will be used for kids to say you should listen to your parents. But in fact, this was actually addressing the parents, telling them they need to honor their parents. And so it kind of builds into a society, care for those who are aging. And this is a principle I think we should keep in mind in general. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Okay, so this command is important and it has influenced many societies. The idea is that you have to be truthful and honest. And you can see that the Ten Commandments are really, at least, especially the latter ones, are about creating a society that helps everyone to thrive. And so this command is sort of grounded on truth and not lying for a potential penalty of law. And I think it's a good one. It's also evidence that some of these commandments are evidence that these things were happening. So we might often think of the Ten Commandments as creating laws that people ought to follow. But in fact, it's probably there were people bearing false witness, so they came up with some laws to say, don't do that. So this is kind of evidence that things weren't going so well, so they had to build in a kind of a rule against doing things that were harmful to society. In conclusion, should the Ten Commandments ever be put on display in public spaces in the United States? So this is curious. There's an argument that you should not put them in a public space because it could be endorsing a particular religion, could endorse Judaism, but most often is seen as endorsing Christianity. And so some places around the country have them displayed in public areas in conjunction with other historical commemorative type monuments. And so in that case, it could be seen as just honoring part of cultural heritage rather than promoting a certain religion. In fact, the second commandment on this picture says, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. So arguably the very creation of Ten Commandments monuments violates the Ten Commandments since it's a graven image. So you could make lots of arguments from religious freedom or not wanting to impose a religion, but also the laws themselves could be against the public display. I think it's a great conversation topic, but in general, I think these kinds of things should be displayed as a way for people to learn about things without promoting a certain religious perspective. Thanks.
Wow, there you go. That was excellent. Professor Waters taking us to class, learning so much there, not the least of which is how to drop the term Decalogue into the next Greek dinner party that you attend. Awesome. Thank you so much. You know what's next?
Yeah. So for this next piece, we have a scene for you. This is Tim, Terrence, and Elena, and they are going to perform a scene. So for this, I need a location, somewhere where people might gather. So during this scene, one of them is going to be up close to the camera. Show me that, players. One of them is going to be far away from the camera. And one of them is going to be completely off camera. And the three of them have to juggle this formation through the scene and justify why they are in the positions they are in. The suggestion I see first is a sauna. Sauna is your suggestion. Don't forget to unmute yourselves and begin.
Where is the off button?
Oh, it's one of these ones where I started the hot rocks on my own, so you can just pour water on it if you want it to like mellow out.
It's so hot. Oh, come on, Dave. You got to be able to turn this off somehow.
Look, I got 2 rules in my sauna that I built, okay? I set the temperature and towels are optional, okay?
Oh, come on.
Hey guys,
I gotta go.
hey, do you want to tell Sauna secrets?
Here's the secret of how to turn this thing off.
Anyone need a brewski while I'm out here?
I'll take one.
Okay.
Brewski's help with Sauna secrets. I
Oh,
want to know your soul. I want to know your soul. Anyone?
Yeah, I'll do a sauna secret. Absolutely. I built this sauna after my divorce because it felt like just something that could be my very own, and I love it. It's incredible.
Oh,
What's the combination to get out?
Oh yeah. Sorry, there's a padlock on that there.
I'll help.
Okay. Yeah. I gotta stretch sometimes. The heat gets to you, you know. Buddy, is this your first time in a sauna?
It's my first and gotta be my last. It's so hot.
Yeah, man. Oh, you just gotta let it take over you, you know? You get all the tension out of your body. It's wonderful.
I just want cold.
I haven't told you my Sauna secret.
Yeah. Well, I need another brewski already.
Okay. When I'm cooking for other people, I let my cat lick the spoon.
That's sanitary?
Wait, what? You've cooked for me before.
Yeah, it was a group project with me and my cat.
And scene. Very good. Woohoo.
Excellent, excellent. We all want to be padlocked in that sauna with all of you. Fantastic. Thank you so much, guys. All right, who do we have up next? Oh, it's Megan Alderton from Criminology. Megan, yes, turn on your microphone, turn on your camera, come up. So great to have you here tonight, Megan. Thanks so much. And it looks like Megan is going to be lecturing on a brief introduction to victimology. Whoa, I wonder what that is. We're all about to find out.
Oh, this is a really good question. So victimology is related to criminology in that, like criminology, that studies crime, criminal patterns, and the justice system response, and individuals who might engage in criminal conduct. Victimology studies victimization, who becomes a victim, patterns in victimization, and then the system's response to that and how well the system does in terms of treating, supporting, and taking care of the issues that victims might experience after they've had their experiences. What can we learn from, bystanderology. So bystanders are these unique group of individuals who actually sometimes view incidents or issues and don't always step up and say anything. And there's lots of different reasons why. people may not say something when they see something. It could be because they fear being judged by others by standing up and saying something. It could be that sometimes individuals might decide that other people who might be seeing the same thing might be instead calling the police. This is a really good example of us driving down the road, down the highway, and we see a car that's pulled over. We often say, oh, well, someone else has probably called that in already. And so sometimes bystanders don't say anything for that reason. And so there's lots of different reasons why people might not or be apprehensive. And really what we need to do is, or some research has shown that you can train people or educate people about why they need to actually say something. And there's been a lot of really good research around sexual victimization and bullying in which bystanders have played a really great role in preventing things from happening, or when things are happening, being able to share that information with individuals who actually can step in and intervene during those incidents. Do victims ever share any responsibility? This is a really common discussion issue that comes up when talking about victimization. A lot of times we blame victims for their experiences, and unfortunately that can have significant negative consequences for their well-being down the road and their ability to kind of move forward after that experience. And in some cases, there's been research, including some of my own research, that shows sometimes our blaming behavior seeps into how the criminal justice system actually responds to victimization. So we say, well, maybe you're not a true victim or a real victim, and therefore you don't deserve to have your case move forward in the system, or we don't believe that you're telling us the truth. And so it's really important instead to kind of consider that victims often kind of have these experiences, and it's really problematic for us to blame them for those experiences, and instead need to support them as they move forward in whatever capacity they feel is appropriate. Is armoring for self-protection ever an effective strategy? Definitely, my general thought on that is no. Generally speaking, the best thing that you can do when you're involved in a very serious situation is to, for instance, if it's a robbery, is to simply give the people what they are asking for. The exception is when you're actually experiencing a violent victimization in which someone's physically assaulting you or sexually assaulting you or attempting to sexually assault you. Then the research actually says fighting back is important. I'm not really sure there's any research that supports arming yourself, but certainly fighting back is shown to significantly reduce a completed sexual assault. Understanding time, some basics we need to know. Okay, so it's really important for us to understand that when we experience victimization or trauma, people's responses can be and result in many different things. And so it's really important for us not to judge people based on how they might react. For some people, they might have a lot of adrenaline and things might happen, and they might feel action is a response to their victimization. For other people, they might experience kind of a disassociative experience where maybe and some victims might report, for instance, not having a feeling kind of an out-of-body experience. These are all different ways in which our minds tries to cope with a very stressful event. And then afterwards, we have to think about after the event, people can also experience post-traumatic stress disorder. And for some victims, those symptoms might go away naturally on their own or through support and other assistance. But for other individuals, they might need additional assistance. And so making sure that we connect those individuals to the appropriate care that they might need. Parallel justice, and is it run parallel? Oh, yes. Okay, so parallel justice is an alternative option for victims of crime. Our adversarial system doesn't really offer a lot for victims of crime, mainly because the system itself is structured around often what the system needs. So making sure that the case can be solved, making sure we collect evidence, making sure we can present the evidence and try to get a conviction. And sometimes victims can feel like they've moved outside of the system as part of that. And so parallel justice kind of imagines ways in which the victims can receive services outside of just this adversarial system, and there's support options available to them. And as part of that could be restorative justice options. And those options are really about how to bring together kind of the offender, the community, and the victim together to try to repair the harm that was caused during the victimization. And there's a lot of research out there that shows that there are some benefits to having that experience for if victims choose to engage in that type of practice. And it offers an opportunity for victims to be able to express the harm that happened, as well as kind of participate in offering what the individual who did the harming could do to actually address the harm that was done. So what can the offender do to kind of make things better from the victim's perspective? All right, fundamental needs, presenting, okay. So there's lots of different things that we can do to support victims and addressing some of the issues that they have. In some cases, we might be addressing the most basic fundamental needs that they have. So making sure that so food, housing, many people don't realize is that when you have a victimization experience, if that happens and you're not safe in your home anymore, or that victimization experience means that you have to change something in your life dramatically, that may create food security issues, that may create all kinds of other safety concerns. And so addressing those fundamental needs and making sure victims have the supports that they need to address those things is important for them to be able to move towards higher levels of well-being in their life, to be able to address bigger issues that might be coming up. Presenting needs, I'm trying to think of exactly what fell under that, I should know. Accompanying needs might be kind of making sure that victims have supports as they're moving through the system and addressing those kinds of issues. So for instance, accompanying to court and other kinds of things that might happen as part of kind of experience with serving victims of crime after they've been involved in the system. Okay, in conclusion, what do popular cultural representations get right or wrong about victimology? Okay, so I would say that while these kinds of shows have been very popular and are very entertaining, I can't say I watch any of them primarily because they get a lot of it wrong in terms of how the actual system functions. And unfortunately, because most of our society is informed by these kinds of programs, they have unrealistic expectations about not only how the system functions, but also kind of what to expect if anything were to happen to somebody else. And unfortunately, those kind of unrealistic expectations can have a detrimental impact on victims as they're moving through. And so it's really important, really truly, that we need to do a better job of educating people about the system, primarily because by educating people about the system, we can actually improve how the system responds to issues that victims might have, and also potentially preventative things that can be done to prevent victimization in the first place. Unfortunately, I think, like I said, I don't really watch these shows, but I'm sure they're very entertaining. But I wouldn't put a lot of stock into actually an accurate portrayal of what victims might experience, and then also how the system actually responds. Just as a really quick number, only about 24% or even less in some cases, depending on, or it could go up to 40%. Well, a very small percentage of all cases of sexual assault, for instance, are actually result in some kind of arrest. But if you watch Law and Order or other kinds of programs, it appears as if those cases are solved every single time, and that's just not accurate. If you're talking burglary, it's down to 18%. If you're talking other kinds of violent crime, you're also looking at 30%. So a really significant percentage of cases actually never move through the system. And so we often have an unrealistic expectation. Yeah, thank you.
Wow, that was fantastic. Thank you so much, Megan, and thank you for the work that you do too. That was really great. Thank you. And now I'm sure that the Say What players want to begin by thanking me too for making it so easy for them to follow a discussion of trauma and assault with comedy.
Hey, sure does. Thank you, Professor Peter. Really appreciate it. Always a joy. So fantastic. For our next improvisation, what we are going to be doing is a little scene called Fill in the Blank. Now, if you've seen live theater before, you know that actors, the main job that they have to do is to memorize their lines. As improvisers, though, we don't have that responsibility. We don't bear that burden, and it's a choice that way. Not because I didn't make the cut at the theater school, not bitter. I'm just kidding. I didn't even audition. Like, I was too scared to. Man, I'm admitting a lot in front of everybody, in front of this large internet crowd here. But here we go. So Tim, Terrence, and Lisa will be doing a scene for us. And at any time, they might actually kind of stumble or try to reach for a line. Now, keep in mind, we are improvisers. We have no lines. So they will be making it up that they're trying to remember the lines that they're trying to say. Now, under normal circumstances, how this would work is we would come to you, the audience, right now. In this moment, I would make Terrence, Tim, and Lisa leave the room. I would then get suggestions of lines of dialogues, lines from books, movies, things that you overheard. I would write them down on little pieces of paper. I would then give them those little pieces of paper. They would put it in their pocket. And then when they would do the scene, when they wanted to use those lines that they had never seen or heard from before, they would set themselves up and then use that line. Now, you may remember that at the beginning of this evening, we asked for suggestions, and we did get some of those in the chat, which is fantastic. I have been pulling those and have those ready to go for when Tim, Terrence, and Lisa need to get those lines. And I promise you they have not seen them. And if you don't believe me, I want to remind you that you posted all of these lines almost exactly an hour ago. So if you think we showed everybody those lines, wrote down a play, rewrote it, workshopped it, had a stage reading of it, did some rough drafts and edits, did some recasting to see how things would work out, I want to remind you that that was only an hour ago, and we definitely did not do that. So I will give you, though, the option too, is if it seems like Tim, Terrence, or Lisa are looking for a line, feel free to plop whatever pops into your mind into the chat, and maybe we'll use that one that came up in the spur of the moment. But we do have the ones that you offered us earlier, and I'll be putting those in when the scene presents itself to do that. So, for example, that might look something like this. Lisa, would you mind kind of setting up for a suggestion for yourself to get?
Yeah, actually, there's something that my grandmother used to tell me. And my grandmother, she used to say, you should thank me. The car was rolling and I stopped it. Because my grandma was super strong. She was related to Superman from Krypton. It's crazy.
Exactly. So you see, they'll tell, so fantastic, Lisa, she'll take the line that comes to her that she has no idea what she's about to say, and she will then make it work, just like everybody else will on stage here. Okay, so to get us started, can I please get a suggestion of a relationship that people might have, and put that in the chat, like, you know, coworkers, teacher, student, plumber and person who needs a plumber, rival car salesman. Okay, all right. We have rival car dealers, rival car dealers, and with that, I lead you to it, and we take you to these rival car dealers.
Oh boy, you know, it's just a lot of car. You know, I know I have a family, but I don't know about a minivan. That's just not quite my speed. Like, I get that I could take kids.
But this puppy's gonna get you some pretty good gas mileage. It's one of those hybridizations. So she runs at approximately 38,000 miles to the gallon, and you're not gonna find anything better than that. 38,000, that's practically electric all the way through. But
hold the phone. Are you trying to sell this man a car, Leslie?
Yes, Jenner. I am trying to get this man a car.
Oh, Leslie, now you know this is Jenner's territory. Everybody on this hill town gets themselves a car Jenner style.
I wasn't really trying to.
Well, everybody on this block seems like they're talking to me, and I'm saying alligators have the right idea. They eat their young.
Yeah, I saw that on the sign outside the dealership. I didn't care for that.
Well, it's a whole eat their young thing, you know. We get little ones in, we eat them up, we throw them in a minivan, and you're well on your way, sir. It's a power thing.
Okay, Terrence, I'm interested in working with you now.
That's Jenna.
Jenna Terrence. Listen, my name
Jenna
is
Terrence, of course.
all around this here town. You've seen it coming in on I-94. It has a big billboard that says, every boy should have a hobby.
I love that saying, yeah.
The world's is whatever they want. And you should know that, Leslie.
Look, I don't want to start a thing between the two of you. I'm a man of peace, you know? Like, I'm a lifelong Boy Scout, and let's remember the Scouts' motto. I'll be get busy living or get busy dying. You know?
Yeah.
Short lifespan for the old Scoutmasters.
You know what? I think that sounds about right. Jenna, I'm here to get busy living. I don't want to die like this. I don't want to die mad at you. You're not even worth it. I want to let you know that I'll be around in the dark. I'll be everywhere. I'll be around you. I'll hover. And that's not meant to be threatening, even though it sounds like it, but it's
Sounds
meant
threatening.
It's meant to be. I will lift you up. I will be here and around you.
Right.
And I want to hug you.
You know what? Just like you and your entire family, Leslie, the Leslie Boganses of the world, you all are always there hovering, lifting people up. You know, it kind of reminds me of your Uncle Errol. Uncle Errol always used to say that Houston, we have a problem. And I think our problem is that we are trying too hard to fight against each other. We should sail this car together.
Okay. Honestly, I'm moved. I want to buy a car from the two of you. And let me just say one more thing. Sorry, I'm just thinking about it real quick. I really want to make this poignant too. I had another Liam Neeson nightmare. I kidnapped his daughter and he just wasn't having it.
And scene. Excellent screenwriting, everybody. Excellent stage writing. Thank you so much for your suggestion.
That was awesome. It's a whole they eat their young thing. Isn't everything a whole they eat their young thing? Thanks so much, everybody. All right, let's head back. Now, up next, you may say we've done 3 professors. We only have 1 more to go. Is that the case, that we only have 1 more to go? Well, maybe, but also maybe not. We're at the Act 8 of our 11 acts tonight. And I'll tell you, we did the Scholars Improv a few years ago, and we had one of the scholars that at the last moment couldn't show up. And so I had the entire PowerPoint prepared, and the scholar wasn't able to do it. And what we did was we asked for a volunteer from the audience to give that presentation instead. And when it happened, it just seemed like it was such a good and fun thing, and going with the spirit of the evening, that maybe we could include the audience again. And so that's what we'd like to do tonight. In other words, I'm going to be asking for one of you to participate giving this next talk. And I'll tell you what we'll do. I'm going to give you what the title of it is. The title is 8 Things I Learned in College. Now, if you didn't go to college, it could be 8 things that you wish you learned in college, or 8 things that you heard other people learn in college, but that's going to be the title of the talk. How are we going to choose the person who's going to be presenting this? Well, we're going to do it by having you send a private message in chat to the panelists answering the following question. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the second person to get this question right, and that is going to be the person who's going to participate tonight. So I'm going to put the question up here, and as soon as it comes up, feel free to type in the answer, and we will boot you from the audience up to the panelists. It might take a moment to do that with the technology, but hopefully we can. All right, are we ready? Here's the question, looking for the second person to answer it correctly. According to theatrical superstition, if you say the name of this play by William Shakespeare inside a theater, it will result in a disaster. So that play is usually referred to as the Scottish play. The actual name of the play, however, is what? Anna, are you able to see the chat, and can you tell us who we've got?
Yes, The second person who correctly identified it as Macbeth was Julie Goldstein.
Julie, Anna, could you please promote that person to a panelist?
Yes, just a moment.
Because that is the correct answer, Macbeth. And while we're waiting for Julie to appear here and turn on her camera and her mic, we'll bring up the title slide. Julie, it's a pleasure to see you tonight.
Good
Thank you for
evening.
taking this plunge. Your mic on?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Are you ready for the next 8 minutes?
I will let you know 9 minutes from now.
You're going to do a great job. You prepared this fantastic presentation for us, and I'm really looking forward to it. So take it away.
My favorite topic, Roy G. Biv, Art 101, the color wheel. Well, we thought Roy G. Biv was the length of the name, but clearly there are some hidden letters in Roy's name. We have yellow-orange, we have red-orange, we have red-violet, we have blue-violet, we have blue-green. Roy G. Biv is not as simple as we thought he or she or they were. Next slide, please. A bit on the basics of evolution. We started with an egg. We got some cells. Then more cells came. Then there was Mother Teresa. After that, an amoeba, followed by a fish, and then a sperm, no, a tadpole. And the tadpole grows into a fish. No, a sperm, whale, up out of the water, onto the ground. Here we go. A large mountain on top of the back. We're starting to get up on our back legs. It's a mouse. It's a rat. It's a mouse rat. It's a monkey. Uh-oh, here we go. Evolving into a walking person who's just coughed up a hairball. Next slide, please. I learned in college some English literature. Romeo and Juliet, The Sun Also Rises, Ulysses, Catcher in the Rye. These are 4 books that I actually didn't read in college because I went straight to medical school out of high school. Talk about patriarchy and white privilege. Next slide, please. Aha! The Stanford prison experiment. This was a replication of my own experience in medical school, where half of us were randomized to be medical students and the other half of us were randomized to be patients. The experiment had to be called off after only 7 days because the patients were in an uproar and left the hospital in only backless gowns. Next slide, please. Critical thinking 101, correlation does not imply causation. Aha, yes. The fact that the per capita consumption of margarine tracks in an almost parallel fashion with the divorce rate in Maine is a perfect example of correlation not implying causation. True, and unrelated. Here's another example of correlation not implying causation. Ice cream sales and shark attacks both are high in the summer and both are low in the winter. And we know that sharks' favorite ice cream flavor is chocolate. Just choose. Mass incarceration. A serious note. Here's something I did not learn in college. Probably based on the fact that this is not content that was taught much in college. I'm catching up with that now. Next slide, please. Oh boy. Next slide, please. In conclusion, the unexamined life is not worth living. And I'm going to stop right there and not think about that anymore this evening. Thank you very much.
Well, that's how you do that. Thank you so much, Julie. There's a nice mic drop that needs to happen after that. Thank you for being so brave as to do that. That was fantastic.
My pleasure.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be doing another game right now that we call YouTuber Apology. Now, for this game, we need to make sure that Elena can't hear anything that we say. So everybody wave goodbye to Elena. Make sure to mute your computer. Elena, we will give you a big thumbs up when it's time for you. Okay, great. So folks, in this game, Elena is going to be a very popular YouTuber that did something wrong and that she needs to apologize for. And she's going to be apologizing to the four of us, her four remaining fans. Now, how this is going to work is Elena is going to start apologizing without actually knowing what she did. And we're going to have to clue her into what she did without saying any of the words of her crime. So to get started, we need 3 suggestions in total. Could we, to start out, get the suggestion of an everyday activity that is her crime, like brushing your teeth or something like that? Eating, okay, I love it. Eating cat snacks. Eating cat snacks. Perfect. And could we also get the suggestion of a location? Could be anything as small as a Starbucks, could be as large as the Eiffel Tower. Paris, France. There we go. Perfect. Okay. And finally, could we get the suggestion of a celebrity that she committed this crime with? Tom Hanks. Love it. So to recap, Elena is going to be apologizing for eating cat snacks in Paris, France, with Tom Hanks. Okay. Folks, let's bring Elena back in. Players, let's get our thumbs up.
Hey, thanks so much for being a part of this chat. I just really wanted to really connect with my, my loyal Patreon followers. You guys are really the only ones left willing to hear me. And I get it. I messed up and I'm so sorry.
How do we know you're not feline?
I'm sorry. I just realized I'm still on mute. Okay, I'm sorry for that as well.
No, we heard you.
No,
and
no,
we want an apology. Oh, we want an apology right now.
I'm truly sorry. I made assumptions about who I was and who the world was and how we connected, and those assumptions were wrong.
Is it that you just didn't go to the grocery store that week? Is that the thing?
Well, it was several things, and that was one of them. Another is I didn't do laundry. Most of my domestic duties as a human, I didn't do. Adult 101, failed it.
You know, Elena, you used to be a whole meal, and now you just hold me over until the next one. You know that? That's how much it hurts.
Well, can I still be a snack?
Yeah, you're being a little bit flippant. You can be kind of getting a little friskies with your responses here, okay? And I just wanted to take a little nip and get all jazzed up and all jacked up and everything, just to say, I'm appalled at this this treatment of your fans. I am absolutely appalled.
Sure. I just want to remind you of, of a time I should have learned my lesson was when Ariana Grande licked that bakery good. I should have been tasting things.
Well, yeah, I mean, you should be tasting things, but just not what you tasted.
Yeah.
It's about our fuzzy friends. It's our fuzzy friends that we care about.
Can I just say, also, you're rich. You should be able to afford a fancy feast, not be doing this all the time.
Oh, this is a digital background. This mansion isn't real.
Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow.
Yeah, but
Meow, 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 meow.
I shouldn't have eaten my cat.
No, you shouldn't have.
What?
Shouldn't have. I hope you didn't.
That's a lie.
Food.
Yeah.
I should not have eaten the cat food.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
That's
you
it.
shouldn't have
That's what it
eaten
is.
that cat food.
No.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh.
Nasty.
Interesting
But-
though, forgive the cat. You're just mad about eating the cat food.
Well, I mean, part of it is that you're wearing a beret while you're doing it. You know what I mean? It's like where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Honestly, there were moments when you put it on a baguette where I was like, that might not be bad.
Sure. And you know, I fell for the moment
Yes.
Mm-hmm. You
because
sure
I'm
did.
here in France.
Well,
Paris
Where can you
Yes.
specific.
Yeah.
Yes, you were in
exactly.
Paris. That's right.
I'm in, you know, I'm in Paris and I'm eating cat food. And what am I thinking? You know, that
No,
was an incredible moment for me, but I should have been thinking about you.
No, yeah, you should have. You should have been thinking about your bosom buddies, okay? You really should have thought about that.
Yeah, you screwed up big.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
no longer have
Yep.
a friend in me.
You
Okay.
definitely made a splash with your
Have a friend in
offenses.
me.
yeah. Terrence, I'm sorry, I have a friend in you. Is that what you said?
No, you don't have a friend in me, is what I'm saying. I'm really upset.
No. You know, here's the deal. I got buzzed.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
I got
Hey.
buzzed.
Elena, look at me.
I'm
Look at
trying.
me. Look at me.
Uh,
You're the criminal now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're the criminal now.
Yeah.
And
You're walking a real road. You're walking a real road to perdition, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's like I'm here on my own desert island of shame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Area of Flint, just hoping for someone to FedEx me some hope, you know?
Yeah.
You know what, Elena? I feel like you should just let it all out.
Say
You know,
it.
let us know how you feel.
Here's the deal. I'm sorry that I ate cat food in Paris with Tom Hanks.
Yay!
Finally, that's all we asked. That's all we
Steve.
asked was an apology. Oh,
Unsubscribe.
No!
Meow, 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 meow. That was perfect. Love it. All right, friends. We are at that moment in the evening when it's time for Mr. Rick Lee to come up. Rick, if you would turn on your camera and your microphone. There you are, my friend. As I said at the beginning of the evening, I am the one who constructed these PowerPoints tonight, and I spent a lot of time and care doing that for every single person here tonight except for Rick. And I'm really glad that you're here with us, Rick, and that you have decided to give a lecture entitled, Why, as a Philosopher, I Love Sequels More Than Originals. That seems like a strange thing for a philosopher to talk about, but if that's what you want to talk about, then okay, take it away.
This is actually the most important philosophical question that there is. But before I get to why it's the most important philosophical question, let me just say that, you know, Aristotle, for example, wrote a lot of books. And if you read the first book he wrote, you're like, what is the hell is he talking about? But you read the second book, you read the third book, the 10th book, you start to make sense out of what Aristotle's talking about. So it's like, for example, when you read Aristotle's Metaphysics, it's like looking at The Godfather 2, when Fredo says, Mikey, I'm smart, not like people say, like dumb. I was passed over. It's not what I wanted. Suddenly you're now realizing when you get to the metaphysics that something that was going on in Aristotle's categories, for example, now comes to fruition, like the moment in Godfather 2. So you don't get the sense of what's really going on. You don't get the meaning of a text until you can see it being played out in different contexts and in different ways. So Aristotle's metaphysics makes good on the claims Aristotle makes in earlier texts like the Categories. And then after metaphysics, there are other texts you read and you think like, my God, Aristotle seems to have gone wrong. So he writes a book on like drama, and you're like, really? It seems like you're not saying smart things about drama here. And people like, I think people often look at some of Aristotle's works like they look at The Godfather Part 3. Now, I know in many ways it's a horrible movie. Sofia Coppola, she's really not acting. I love you, cuz is one of the worst lines in all of movie history. But it's not until you get to The Godfather Part 3 that now you understand that 1 and 2 were actually a system. That when Aristotle starts talking about what words mean, and then he talks about what words mean is related to existence, and then he starts talking about, for example, drama or rhetoric, now you see that this is an entire system, just like the Godfather trilogy forms an entire system. So I think that often when you start seeing that a philosopher is writing this kind of system, when you get to the second work, the third work, and so on, you start looking back at the first work and you're like, I'm not sure if this philosopher was really onto anything, because look at what this leads to. I mean, if it seemed interesting at the beginning, but now it leads to some kind of ridiculous conclusion. And people think about like a really beautifully crafted oeuvre, like a complete work, like National Lampoon's Vacation series. But I think in Christmas Vacation, which is often thought to be one of the worst parts of the entire vacation sequence, I think one really gets to see that the vacation, entire series of Vacation, was really onto a fundamental issue. And that issue is what stands at the essence. And is that essence something that is alive and lively, or is it something that is dead and frozen? So that's why I decided to bring up a series about which I know absolutely nothing. Just to show that even though you have not seen the first part or the second part, or maybe even the eighth part, you could still try from these clues you get in relation to the second part, what kind of a system is at work here. And so I brought up this example of Electric Boogaloo that is Breakin' 2, because I think when you hear Strobe say, "Electros rule the dance floor now, sucker, why don't you get back to your social club and go play with your babies?" You really now can start piecing out what the system of the Boogaloo, what the entire breaking philosophy is all about. It's often thought that philosophy falls into periods, historical periods. So we have ancient philosophy, then we have medieval philosophy, then we have modern philosophy. And we tend to read this as if there's a kind of progress, right? So medieval philosophy, it's like ancient philosophy, but it's better because it's one more. And then modern philosophy is like medieval philosophy, but it's even better. And it's getting better and better and better. But if you look at Electric Boogaloo or Godfather 2, what you begin to see is that it's not really about progress, but it's actually about thought coming to completion being rethought, recast in new ways that is not really progress, but it's not retrogression either, but that it's a relation of the first part to the second part that actually shows you what the first part could have been, or what was initially contained within the first part now gets expanded. And so there's not really a progress in this sequence of events. Now, it turns out that throughout this progress of history, though, once we get to modern philosophy, and especially the 20th century, there are, within the 20th century, let's just start there, there were no end of horrors that human beings inflicted on one another. People were going around killing one another and so on. And so philosophers began to ask, well, does philosophy play a role in this? Is philosophy somehow giving people the reason why they could go around understanding other humans as not fully human, as less than human? And so philosophers in the 20th century began wondering about their own relation to these disasters. And yet it turns out that the main philosophical question is the simple question, why? And so as long as philosophers are asking why, they have a way out of this. So it turns out that we could look at, for example, Aristotle's later texts in relation to Aristotle's earlier texts. We could look at the periods in the history of philosophy as developments and so on. And yet in the 20th century, a number of philosophers began wondering, what if it is actually just a kind of repetition without relation and without progress? And so I often think about the movie, which is not really a movie, A Star is Born. Because if you look at the most recent version, and now that I say that, I'm like choking up because I still can't watch that without crying. But if you look at that and you watch like the Julie Garland version of this, these are entirely different stories. Okay, so maybe the most recent one bears some relation to the Chris Christopherson, Barbara Streisand version, but really in the end, in these repetitions of what is the same, we now start to see that there actually is a difference. And so sometimes what follows, even if it's just a mere repetition, often helps us understand what came before, just as a mere repeat. Now, there are some philosophers, there are some objects of art. We could put that in a highfalutin way, objet d'art, that simply can't be repeated, and there can't be a sequel. And an example of this would be the last film that will ever be made, namely The Big Lebowski. And so The Big Lebowski is an example of a kind of perfect thought, a perfect philosophical system, a perfect totality that in its uniqueness, there can be no sequel and it cannot be repeated. And so this is one case in which the sequel can't be better than the original because frankly, there just can't be a sequel. And one of the reasons why is because the dude abides.
Oh my gosh, that's how you do that. Thank you, Rick. That was fantastic. We are about our closing time, but I hope that you'll stick with us for a couple of moments because we'd like to have one last big hurrah before we go. And I'd like to invite every single person, all of the professors who spoke tonight, and you too, Julie, to turn on your camera and your mic as we bring everybody to the stage for one last final grand finale.
Welcome back to our finale. So the very last game that we have for you today is called Freeze. The way this is going to work is in just a moment, I'm going to invite everyone to turn off their cameras in just a moment. And we're going to have 2 players up. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's get Pete and Tim up, please. Pete and Tim. Everyone else can turn off their cameras. So these 2 will begin a scene, and at any point during this scene, someone else can pop their camera on.
Freeze!
Perfect, and say freeze. So Terrence got this, and then Terrence, you're going to say the name of the person you would like to leave.
Oh, Pete, get out of here.
Yeah.
Aw.
And then Tim and Terrence would begin an entirely new scene. Throughout this game of Freeze, you can do sort of what we did with that, oh, I forgot my line, that kind of a game. And then someone who is watching right now might type in the chat a line to replace yours. So to get these 2 started, let's throw in that chat a profession of any kind to get us started. A profession like a doctor or a firefighter or some kind of profession, a professional philosopher, a Mars pioneer. I see Mars pioneer. Wonderful. And begin.
My goodness, we've made it all the way to here. The other side of Mars.
You know, can we go back to the other side of Mars? The other side of Mars is a little bit more fun than this side.
Sure, the place with the oxygen and the water. Yeah, that is a great place. But I figure while we're out here, we could name some stuff. I'm going to call this Tim Rock, and I'm going to call that Tim Crater.
Did Tim Crater just move?
Oh my God. Okay, that's a living thing. That is a living thing.
See if this doesn't happen on the other side of
Hold
Mars.
on, some guy's on mute.
Tim, go away. Excuse me, sir, could you stop pointing at me? I'm not a mannequin in a window. I'm just wearing nice clothes.
Oh my goodness, it talks.
Again, I'm not a mannequin. I'm a real person. My mom just dressed me this morning, so
the mouth moves and everything.
It moves because I'm not a mannequin. Again, I'm a person.
Move your hand. Move your hand.
Okay, like this. Here.
Freeze! Terrence, get out of here. Hey, Jim. Good to see you.
Hey, Kathy. Good to see you.
Oh my gosh. You look so different. What a different haircut. You used to have such long hair. Do you remember that?
Yeah, no, it's I'm turning 30, so it's falling out now.
Oh my gosh, you're so bald. It's kind of gross, but also like kind of cute. Bald guys are like very cute. You know?
I'm remembering why we never talk anymore.
You're so funny, and you've always been so funny.
Oh, okay.
Like, I have to Pete.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Uh-huh.
Can't believe it.
Me neither.
Right? I mean, here we were just walking down the street, minding our own business. And it's like, I never knew I had a twin.
I know. It's nuts. My hair on your, I mean, it's exactly the same.
And even the glasses.
The choice, it's like the choices we make are exactly the same too. Let's say the same word at the same time. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Freeze.
Problem.
Lisa.
Yeah.
Get out.
Okay.
Does this pandemic make me seem fat? Because I thought in SARS, SARS was much thinner on me. I feel so fat in this pandemic.
I'm going to be honest with you, Joe. I think pandemic or not, you're fat.
Freeze. Freeze. Julie and Rick, take a hike. Jamie, will you join me?
Hey.
Hello. I believe the word is decalogues.
Oh, that's Decalogue.
Oh, yes. Yes, docalogues, yes, which means 10 monologues.
Yeah, 10 words. You're so smart. It's like you're at a fancy dinner party with me.
Oh, thank God. Oh my goodness. Okay, yes. Thank you so much. This is going to be perfect for my meeting with the fancy people.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, you're very impressive. I'm impressed already.
Okay. Oh, stop. Okay. I appreciate your enthusiasm. Did I use that word right?
Yeah, it's great.
Okay. Oh my God. Okay. You're the best. You're the best word tutor I've ever had. You're really expanding my bank for a lot of words.
Jamie, head out. I got something to say to you, sir. My rules, they're the only rules.
Okay. Well,
they're the only rules anybody ever knows.
Listen, I just gave everybody the Decalogue, okay? I don't know what you want me to do, Lord.
Well, I want you to go and spread my word through the people.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to need some more, like, rules. You're not very specific on some of them.
Okay, fine. Commandment number 2. I am the bridge at every funeral, the corpse at every wedding.
Okay, I think we're making negative progress now. I think let's just keep the second one again too, and maybe
Commandment
let's
3.
Okay.
It's an antique.
Oh, what is an antique? The actual things?
Okay. Just say that to people and say, I am the prophet of God.
I'm going to have a hard time massing masses on number 3. People will be like, what is that? I'll just be like, don't worry about it. And they'll be like, we have to. I'm concerned.
Commandment number 4.
Can I get Megan to come in here with me, please?
We're going to talk about early infection.
We're going to solve this case. So
it looks infected, but it doesn't smell infected.
You're right. It doesn't smell infected, but it's definitely infected. And I got it in my eye. So I really need some help.
I think that's a bad sign. I definitely would try to wash it out with something. Maybe not so much. That's kind of gross. You're going to need to wash your hands a little bit. Yeah.
Essential oils? Will that do it?
No, I'm definitely thinking some clean water to start with, and then, like flush it out a little bit. You're going to have, like what they teach you in chemistry. You have to like open your eye up, flush it out. Hope that you don't.
I'm going to wash that right out of my hair. I'm going to wash it right out.
Freeze. Lisa, get out of here. Come on, dude. You got to touch it. You got to touch it. It just came out of my head last night. Okay. You got to touch it. Come on. You can't be afraid. Come on. Go ahead. You got to get all this. Yeah,
you're
right?
Too far. I can't. You're going too fast.
It's all spaghetti. Dude, I just got spaghetti that grew out of my head like a Mr. Potato Head. Right? Crazy, right?
That is concerning. Although I believe, what shape is it?
Oh, it's doodly noodly new shape, dude. Come on. This is what we do.
Or like some kind of mathematical equation that you're using to determine the shape. I heard that.
1 + 1 = 5.
Freeze. Megan and Terrence, see you later. Steven, let's do one.
Yes.
Coach, I've got the need for speed, which is going to be really helpful at our track meet that we're at right now.
Well, that's a real problem because we're not at a track meet and you're playing goalkeeper.
You know what? I knew that's why my numbers were low. I'm sorry, Coach.
And scene! Yeah! Woohoo! Everybody pop your videos back on.
Thank you so much, everybody. It was great to have you all together on stage. Great to have you all here tonight. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you to everybody who's out there watching this. We're so pleased to have you as a part of this as well. I want to thank all the professors, all the comedians. I want to thank Bob Valgenti for the music tonight, Julie Goldstein for having the bravery for coming up tonight. And I want to encourage everybody to go out there and to live the improv life. See what comes next and just say yes. We're going to roll the closing credits here and end with another musical piece by Bob Valgenti. Look forward to see you all down the road at the next DePaul Humanities Center event. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
and
Peter.
Good night.